Erika is a clinical psychologist. I'm a doctoral student at the University of Northampton, and she will talk about counseling exceptional etc.
Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Alright. My name is Erika. I'm a counselor and also a researcher, currently at the University of Northampton. And ADHD. This is my first time using a clicker, so excuse me while I try to figure it out. Which one is it? Okay. Got it. All right. So I will be talking about counseling and exceptional experiences. And the overview of what I'll be saying is primarily some history, my own approach towards counseling and exceptional experiences, some general counseling and clinical perspectives, examples, and resources. Okay, so if you Google exceptional experiences, this is what you get, which has nothing to do with what we're actually talking about today. I just wanted to show you an example of how little is known and how marginalized these experiences are. You can't really tell what is on the screen, but basically it's about customer service, exceptional customer service, and some audio-visual information. So there you go. Okay, so before I go into the actual definition of exceptional experiences, I want to go into the definition of anomalous experience. And so the primary person that we're going to talk about regarding exceptional experiences is Rhea White. And so this is her definition of anomalous experience. So it's an unexpected experience that originates outside the mainstream of the experiencer's ordinary conscious awareness or self-concept. So usually these experiences are dismissed and forgotten. So these can be near-death experiences, synchronicities, apparitions, things like that. And so when we move on to exceptional experiences, which is a term that she coined in the late 80s and early 90s, she was trying to unify all the types of psychic, mystical, encounter, death-related, peak and other anomalous experiences, and to view them as members of a single class. So basically, up until that point, these experiences or aspects of parapsychology were being looked at separately, and she was trying to look at them in one order. And the main reason that she was doing this was basically because she saw this pattern that people were having these experiences and having trouble making meaning of them and integrating them. And so she further coined the term exceptional human experience, which is where the experiencer integrates their exceptional experience and is transformed by it, sees it as real, and perhaps even calls it a religious or spiritual experience. So that's where this integration process and the meaning making has happened. Okay, this is where I take some water. Okay, so in my personal practice, I like to use this model regarding exceptional experiences. And so in my mind, I see the spectrum. So anomalous experience being the initial experience, and where it's sort of dismissed. You might, have a synchronicity, but basically you don't really think much of it. You're like, oh, that's cool, okay. And then moving on to exceptional experience, maybe you had a near-death experience, and it's really life-changing. Not only did you maybe die or come close to dying, you've had this really anomalous experience that now you might be having after effects with. So maybe you have a personality change, such as a new religious orientation, more altruistic, different belief in God, something like that. And then we move on to the exceptional human experience, of course, where maybe you saw a dead relative, someone who passed recently, and you were grieving, and then when you saw them, the apparition, you finally let go, you finally integrated their passing, it brought you some healing. So this is where the differences are. So when it comes to actually counseling, we're working with the exceptional experience, so where the problem area is. So that questioning stage, the difficulty stage, where people are having anxiety or depression or something going on, they're just having difficulty either dismissing it or integrating that experience. They're not able to function in their daily lives, that sort of thing. And so when it comes to what the exceptional experience is going to be, whether it goes back to an anomalous experience, so something that's dismissed versus something that might be more meaningful and transformative, that really depends on the client. It's not about me. It's not, well, I want you to make this an exceptional human experience. I want it to be transformative and transpersonal. It's not about me. It's about what's going to be beneficial for the client. And we'll see in some examples that when someone comes in, it's kind of easy to tell which way it might go. Okay, so this is just a video on YouTube about someone's after effects of near-death experiences. And we'll talk about sort of the clinical significant stuff. Is there internet? You've had my PowerPoint for like 2 months. It's okay. If not, they'll just have to listen to me more. You're fine. Can you have it? Any questions so far? Okay. Does it not go through?
After my near-death experience, I would have things happen. It just started it happened almost right away, but I would chalk it up because I'm such a logical skeptic. I'm a healthy skeptic. Because I'm such a healthy skeptic, I would have to chalk it up to reasonable things that were happening. For example, some of the side effects. I have trouble eating red meat. I used to love my steaks, sirloin tips. Like, I love my steak. I can't eat steak now. I can't have it. I try to do it as best as I can. Some days are better than others. I can cook it now and I can do stuff like that. I don't prefer red meat, where before I did. I loved it. Another one is my hearing. I have a lot of trouble with my hearing. It's very sensitive. When I become because I'm now way more intuitive than what I was before, but before I never believed in being intuitive. I believed in a mother's intuition. I believed in a gut sense, but I didn't have any beliefs of that. So now I come to this new place of being, this new awakening, this new sense of living after a near-death experience. And as I come back, I now have what I used to call freaky side effects. The side effects were something that happened because of this near-death experience. I would have an intuition level that I would get like little snippets of pictures. It's almost like having a deja vu. When you would think that you were there before, and the next thing you know, it actually isn't a deja vu. It's like a pre-deja vu. That's what I describe in my book, Heaven Time. It's like a pre-deja vu. It's like It happens before it kind of happens. And it could be a week, it could be a day, it could be a month, but it's kind of like pre-happening. And then when it actually would happen, it would scare me because I didn't believe in it, I didn't have sense of it, and so it would frighten me.
Did you all hear that okay? Okay. I didn't want that one. Okay. So we're going to pretend that this person has come into counseling and this is what she's told us. Obviously, she's pretty well integrated, but we're going to sort of pretend that she's still having the issues that she mentioned. I think the first thing I really noticed is that sigh in the beginning. I think that honestly says a lot. So as her counselor, I can already tell that this is hard for her to talk about. And this is something very common with people who have had near-death experiences. It's really hard to put their experience into words. And these key phrases that she's saying, that she's very logical, very skeptic. She's trying to chalk up all of the side effects up to reasonable things that were happening. So she's insightful. She's questioning, you know, are these things really happening? You know, she's coming against what she's known, and she's not quite sure, is she going crazy? Is she just, you know, what's happening? And that's a good place to be in. And it's an okay place to be in, but obviously she said it was freaky, it was scary, so trying to give her some reassurance and work with these issues that she's been having. So it's pretty apparent that she's had these major changes in personality. She said that she's more intuitive, that, you know, she has issues eating meat now. Okay, well, that's interesting, and clinically we're like, okay, you know, something psychopathological going on. But really, in this case, she seems really well integrated. She doesn't seem psychotic, which is something that, of course, it would assess for. And so really, we're seeing if these personality changes, these things, are something that are affecting her day-to-day life. So it doesn't really matter that, or at least to me clinically, that she's, you know, saying that she's having issues digesting meat and that she's more intuitive. It's how is she making meaning of these things? How is this affecting her day-to-day life? Is she able to still function in the world and be a happy and healthy person? She's saying that she's getting more premonitions, more visual thinking. It's like, well, how is that affecting you? You know, does this make you anxious? How is this affecting your social life, your family? Is it hard to talk about these things with your family? She definitely seems naturally inclined towards meaning-making regarding her exceptional experience. And so from what she said, and obviously just, you know, how she seems, this is going towards the exceptional human experience side of the spectrum. So she's integrating this, she's making meaning of this. It's a very transformative and meaningful experience for her. It's not something that she's just going to brush off or can brush off. So clinically speaking, in counseling, I would definitely be going into that meaning-making process. Any questions about her? Okay, so this is an email that I received from somebody regarding their experience, and so in this case also we're just pretending that they're going to come into counseling. Okay, they said, I am trying to find out who I would be able to speak with about visions that I've been having. Since I was a child, I have had quite a few instances where I experienced visions of things that later happened. Through the years, I have been able to write them down on my computer, but the problem is that after I have these premonitions, I forget about it almost entirely until the event or situation actually occurs. When this happens, I experience a strange phenomenon of deja vu. I have had a very difficult time with these experiences, and I was hoping that someone might be interested in discussing this in detail. Okay, so the first thing I noticed, besides it being well written, is that they said that they've been having this, or these things happen since childhood. So part of my job also is assessing appropriateness of if you're coming into counseling, because often, of course, people do report weird things happening or exceptional experience like things when they're ill. But this person obviously is writing very well, seems coherent, and has said that they've been having these experiences since childhood. So I'm wondering also, though, what has there been a catalyst recently? So if you've been having these experiences for a long time, and you're just now writing and just seeing what's going on, was there something recently that made you want to talk about it? Is there something that maybe when rapport is established, when we better know each other, that you can tell me something that's maybe more distressing? Because this is it's rather vague. Yeah, he's talking about deja vu and premonitions, but I really don't know what any of these premonitions are. I don't know the feelings behind them. Sort of if he's having anxiety, he uses a general term of difficult time. It's like, well, what does that mean? What's a difficult time for you? Is it just that, they're distracting, or is this giving you anxiety? Is this something that's, causing you not to be able to focus in your life, career, family? What's going on? He says he's interested in discussing it. So maybe he's more interested in sort of the consultation realm of counseling, more like here's the research that's been happening, here's maybe what's going on. And he seems to have some sort of background in reading, because he uses terms like premonitions and deja vu. Deja vu is sort of a colloquial term, but premonition is not something that I think a lot of your day-to-day people who don't read, into these things or about these areas would know. And in this case, I think for him, his exceptional experience might go back to being an anomalous experience. Maybe he doesn't really make much meaning out of this, he just sort of wants them to go away. It just completely depends on what's going on and what he wants to do with his experience. Do you need me to keep it on the slide, or I've been using the English slide, sorry. So for my third example, this is another person who wrote to me. I'll just read it. So, I'll put it on this one and then read it out loud. I'm trying to find out who I would be able to speak with about visions that I've been having since, oops, that's the other one, hang on. Okay. I have no idea where to turn without sounding like a complete nut. I do transcendental dreaming when I do dream. I have been experiencing lucid transcendental dreams with someone that is dead. Yes, he is a recent loss to me, but we had not seen each other in 25 years. We lived 1,100 miles apart, but we remained in close contact. I know it was him because I could smell him, feel every sense was in full use. I never considered myself a medium, gifted in any paranormal sort of way. When he was alive, he could also do the same. I'm very confused and a bit freaked out over the events from past few nights. I'm not afraid, I just don't know if this is something of normal psychology or parapsychology. I cannot find any researchers in my area, and I hope that you could possibly lead me to a resource. Thank you. I would argue that parapsychology is part of normal psychology, but anyways. So, honestly, she's distressed, and she's like, don't want to sound like a complete nut. Don't judge me, that sort of thing. Which is sort of really indicative of, hey, weird stuff is going on and I'm really concerned, and that's insight. Insight's good. She seems to have some background, obviously, with this area, because she uses terms like transcendental dreaming, parapsychology, medium, these keywords that let me know you've got some sort of knowledge in the area. So obviously bereavement is in play. How much, I don't really know. She said that, yeah, I know him, but I haven't seen him in 25 years. But this experience was really real, and it's just sort of, it's freaking me out. She does say that she's a bit freaked out, but then says, I'm not afraid. So I'd want to cover that discrepancy as well. It's like, okay, you said this one thing, but you said another. So, you know, what's going on? She said that she's looking for some possible resources. It looks like, you know, she wants information, so sort of more the consultation, maybe some psycho-ed. But there seems to be a lot of stuff going on. She seems to also have a lot of meaning-making stuff. I don't think you can do transcendental dreaming without being a very like insightful meaning-making person. And I want to also make sure that, you know, emotionally she's okay, because even though she hasn't seen this person in 25 years, it can still affect a person a lot when someone passes that, you know, for that long. Yeah, so that's about it with that. As far as that example goes. Let me get more water. Isn't he cute? Okay. Okay. So regarding counseling exceptional experiences in general, a lot of different counselors and clinicians have different approaches. So the way I've been talking about it's not the only way. You know, just with every sort of experience, it really depends on your counselor and how they approach it. Each counselor has their own different methodology and orientation. But for me, these are the main things that I really consider when we're talking about counseling exceptional experiences. And so how does the client make meaning of their experiences? You're probably sick of me saying meaning making, but it's really important when it comes to this. I'm not looking to see if it's true or false, really. I'm trying to see, you know, what's your truth? Are you integrating it well? Are you happy and well? How's your day-to-day life? What is this doing for you? Is it working with you or against you? What do you want to do with it? That sort of thing. So I use a lot of basic counseling skills, a lot of person-focused counseling, so reflection of feeling, empathy, unconditional positive regard, creating a safe enough space for the client. And especially with these experiences, I mean, it's really hard to go into a room with a person you just met and talk about all your history and personal feelings, right? But if you have an exceptional experience that, you know, mainstream science or a lot of people, maybe even your family, are like, oh, like you're just going crazy, it's not real, you just were imagining it, like, you know, you might have a really difficult time even more going to a counselor because you've got this A, experience that nobody's understanding, and B, you really might have a fear that you're going crazy. That's a really, those are two really overwhelming things to consider. So I like to use the term safe enough space because it's never going to be a completely safe space. We just want it safe enough for you to be comfortable enough to talk. So one of the first few things I do as well would be screening for appropriateness. You've got people obviously who might be psychotic, and this might not be a good route to go to or through initially. I do believe that people who have psychotic disorders can have exceptional experiences, but when psychopathology is in play, if someone's in psychosis, it's not the current time to work with that. So maybe afterwards, when they're in a more stable place, we can work with meaning making, but just not at that time. I often do get contacted by people who want more ghost busting than counseling or consultation. They want me to come and go check out their house and hang out in their attic for a few hours to talk to their ghost Mary or something. Not really my thing, so I would have to go refer them elsewhere. Part of it also, when it comes to counseling exceptional experiences, is providing scientific knowledge when available and appropriate. So this is where it sort of differs with other areas, is that, you know, I want to give more information, more scientific knowledge. And that's really, I mean, it happens with anything you come into counseling with. If you come because you have anxiety, you want someone who has knowledge of anxiety. And it might be beneficial to get that sort of psychoeducation about anxiety as well. So that's sort of the same thing with this. It's I want to give you information on your exceptional experience that we know. Say, hey, this is weird, yeah, but a lot of people have these experiences that you call an exceptional experience or whatever you've been calling it. So sort of normalize their experience. Definitely providing community resources when available and appropriate. So we'll get a little bit more into this later on too. But there might be support groups. So there's associations out there like Athens that have local support groups for near-death experiencers. So having that sort of group support, it's a community, right? Community facilitates therapy, change. It's very therapeutic, and it helps you not feel alone and isolated in your experiences. Balancing information with therapeutic support is really important. So rather than just, giving all this information and say, here, just take it away and do what you will with it, we want to integrate information giving with the actual therapeutic process, and not just, being sciencey, I guess. We actually want to be therapeutic with it. So that's sort of my benefit of being a counselor is I get to not only give information, but also help what you want to do with it. So making connections with major life events and exceptional experiences might also be something that's important. So if if a catalyst happened, like with a stressful event, and that's what maybe triggered the exceptional experience, that might be important for you to go into. It might be this correlation that maybe you haven't thought of before that we can explore in counseling. Addressing other areas of concern like depression, anxiety, and trauma. So say with someone who's had a near-death experience, that might have been really not just physically traumatic, because obviously you were close to death, or even did die and come back, but that could be psychologically traumatic as well. And then the sort of the changes that happen after can be anxiety-inducing as well. So if there's more than just meaning-making that we need to address, some more clinical aspects like depression, anxiety, and things like that, that's something that can also happen, of course. And I like to include family if necessary. Obviously, your family is sort of your main constellation of support, and if you don't really have that and they don't understand, but maybe they could understand, counseling is a great, safe enough space to facilitate that therapeutic support with family. It also helps them with psychoeducation, also lets everyone know where they're coming from, offers that time and space to sort of take a breath and say, hey, something needs to change, so-and-so is not doing really well, let's, figure out what we all can do.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had an extraordinary experience like that?
I have. I don't know if I've had any to the point where I think I need to go see somebody for counseling, but I've had experiences where I'm like, did that just happen? Like, what do I do with this? And I've had dreams where it was really profound, and at the time I wasn't quite sure like if it was just me or what was going on. It was actually about a family member, and it was about something that I didn't know about this person, and so I contacted them, and they actually did verify like what happened in my dream. So it was really like, whoa, but the generic whoa. But from that, it became a really meaningful, experience. So it was that exceptional human experience really transformed, like, and gave me some comfort, So that's just one. Thanks for the question. So some other things that are very important, it's what's motivating the client to come in and what are his or her goals. So like I said, it's not about what I want, it's about what the client wants/needs, and what brings the client in. Are they motivated because, a spouse said, oh, they said I've been acting weird and here I am, or are they saying, hey, I'm really freaked out, I'm not able to sleep because I'm afraid this weird stuff is going to happen when I do, or something like that. So that's all important. So what's motivating you to come in is basically where we start. So is the exceptional experience the distressing factor, or is it how people, like friends, family, coworkers, etc., are responding? And that's really important as well, because so people with near-death experiences, for instance, might not find their near-death experience distressing, but their family might be freaked out with all the changes that have happened to them since. So they might not have the same interests, same religion or spiritual views, things like that. And so somebody might come in saying, it's distressing how my family is handling this. I don't feel stressed out about it, but they're telling me that something's wrong, but I don't feel like something's wrong. But it's distressing me that they're distressed. So here I am. Spiritual and or religious orientation or orientations is also very important. So if you have a religion or a spirituality, I want to incorporate that if that's really meaningful for you, because that can be very therapeutic. And I mean, it's a support for you. So if I can incorporate something that obviously gives you support and is therapeutic, then I want to use that. Okay. Going into some resources. I guess this wasn't translated. But these are just some resources around the world. So we have CERC in France that does research, consultation, counseling on exceptional experiences. Hey, Bruno. So we also have the Institute for Frontier Areas of Psychology and Mental Health, otherwise known as IGPP in Freiburg. Hey, we got a few of them in here. We also have the Parapsychological Counseling Center, also in Freiburg, also does consultation and counseling. And then you can contact the Parapsychological Association by going to the PA's website, hitting contact us, and you can talk about your experiences, if you want to work on anything, that sort of thing, if you just want a listening ear, resources. It will go to, I just dropped my shoe, I'm sorry. It'll go to Annalisa, and then it'll come to me. So I'm the exceptional experiences responder. So if you want to talk with me, that's one way. And then there's also the Journal of Exceptional Experiences in Psychology, otherwise known as JEEP. And it publishes personal accounts, creative pieces, including poetry, artwork, music, things like that. So if you have an exceptional experience and you want to share it in some way, this is a research journal that also publishes these things. And you can go to exceptionalpsychology.org, and there's the email and a form there that you can contact the editor/publisher, who is also me. So, yeah. And that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Have you met people who have contacted you for consulting and then got along with their experience or ability, but later on participated in researches? I mean that they stuck with their ability, and actually made use of it.
Okay, let me backtrack. So have I met somebody who has contacted me or worked with a client, and then did they go into research, or did they continue to use their ability?
Both.
Okay.
By not freaking out and closing out the doors.
Yeah. Well, honestly, most of the time people don't close that door and they go further with it. And it's really cool to see just how far they do go with it. And so with my current research for PhD, I have gotten people who contact me regarding near-death experiences and are like, yeah, I want to be studied or be a part of research. And I'm like, well, cool, I'm doing research, but I'm not there yet. Like, I'm not looking for participants yet. But there are a lot of people who do contact me in various ways, or come in who do want to do research as well. The hard part is that a lot of researchers, we're everywhere, right? So, it's hard because these clients are everywhere, these people are everywhere. People who have exceptional experiences are everywhere. It's everybody, basically. And so you might live in nowhere, Indiana, and you know, I'd really love for you to be part of a research experiment, but there's just nobody around you. But then these people get really creative and like they go find other things that they can get involved in. So, did that answer your question?
So, wait, yes, but not actually, right?
Okay.
Erika, how can you discriminate between people that come to you and tell you stories if these their stories are fantastic, phantasmic stories or their actual experiences? Is there any Q&A protocol that you follow in order to filter the people that they come to consult you
Yeah.
regarding their experiences?
So, are you saying like lying or psychosis?
Yes.
Both of them. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because there is a great Indian American neurophysiologist, Nayanura Machadran, who has explicitly devoted his scientific life in studying this phenomenon, phantasmic experiences, and these are actual phenomena that happening inside many people, and it's not very easy to discriminate them from actual experiences, psychic experiences or near-death experiences or this kind of experience that usually people come to you to consult.
So I'm not quite focused on if it's true or not. So let me also preface that. So if they're lying, I'm pretty good, like you have to be a really good liar to be, like, with all the questions that I ask and all the listening I have to do.
That's my answer.
Yeah, so if you're lying, it's going to be pretty evident, at least, if I'm doing my job correctly, at least, you know, if I'm trained well, then I should catch it. But if you have the time to come in and like for counseling, like if you have okay, in America, obviously insurance is a huge problem. So if you've got insurance or don't have insurance, either way, and you make the time to come to counseling and you're lying like about it, I'm like, what are you doing? But regarding psychosis, so I used to screen people for psychosis as part of my job as an emergency services counselor. And there's a distinct difference between somebody who's psychotic and someone who is healthy mentally but having issues with an exceptional experience. And I really wish I could better put into words, but it's sort of just like this taste sort of feeling. It's just there's this big difference. Like I know like automatically, you know, sort of which one is which. But obviously people who are in psychosis are usually more paranoid, internal stimuli, not eating, sleeping, that sort of thing, not meeting their daily life sort of skills. Might have a history of, you know, other psychotic episodes, that sort of thing. They talk about their experiences much differently than people who aren't psychotic. And I think that's like the key thing, and also if they're able to maintain their daily lives and how they're doing it. Otherwise,
On that you're talking about right now, a person that had a truly extraordinary experience can turn psychotic.
yes. Yeah, and that's a big debate as well, because we have networks like the Spiritual Crisis Network who talk about you know, spiritual emergencies and things like that, and like Kundalini experiences, and that's a big debate. And it also goes into medical care too. So it's like, does medication inhibit getting better, or does it just suppress the symptoms until they come back later? So if someone is given a safe enough space to work through their psychosis, will that be a transformative, helpful experience, or, you know, do they just continue on having psychotic episodes? So it's very true, but in this case, even if it's a spiritual crisis or a spiritual emergency, I still need to make sure, you know, if they are psychotic, that they're in a safe enough space, you know, because I can't do sort of meeting making with them if they're too psychotic. You know, they can't take care of themselves if they're too psychotic, so in that case, it's a little more complicated.
Why do you think is there a therapeutic difference in approach dealing with ghost experience or other near-death experiences?
So what's the difference between a therapeutic approach for ghost experiences and near-death experiences? So with someone who sees a ghost versus someone who has a near-death experience, the person who's had a near-death experience that's both physically traumatic often. So maybe somebody had cardiac arrest during like a surgery, so they're still having to heal after that surgery, and then also heal psychologically and integrate that experience. So sort of dying and having, you know, whatever ailment they had before, and also incorporating that experience after. So I think that's one big difference. And the personality changes that may happen after someone has a near-death experience. So changes in religious views, spirituality, career. They often have a high divorce rate. And so a lot of family issues. Maybe they're not happy anymore, you know, because they changed that much. And so as someone who has seen a ghost, sometimes that can happen during times of bereavement. And so I would be going into that sort of bereavement counseling. But there's also bereavement with near-death experiences too. It's sort of that, the personality death, you know, because maybe you changed that much. The old you has died and now there's sort of a new person. So there's bereavement in that as well. What else would I go into? I'd probably talk about like how often they're seeing people. Is it just one? Is it more than one? When is it? You know, how are they making sense of it? You know, do they think that it's a hallucination? Like, do they use that term? Or do they think, you know, it's sort of something just sort of happens? That's where I would start with ghosts. Anything else I can clarify on this? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the exceptional or animalistic experiences can lead to a psychotic behavior in the future? And have there been any instances that you have ever faced, or like does it become very complicated for those people who have been through any kind of animalistic experience and been able to express and have been taken as psychotics?
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me address the first one first. So I think that yes, an exceptional or anomalous experience can lead to psychosis, just like what we were saying. So sometimes, like if you are meditating very heavily, like I read about some lady that went on a meditation retreat and was meditating for like 8 hours, and she went psychotic after that because, I mean, if you want to say like her like unconscious, just like she didn't handle it very well. It was hard for her mind. But then after that, after she was psychotic for a few weeks, she was able to process it. Once she got into a better place, you know, they put her on medication. She stopped the medication, and then she was integrating that spiritually and made meaning from that. And she's not had an exceptional experience since. But she went on to join communities, things like that, and so I definitely think that it's possible, and that's really where the borderline of, you know, proper health care comes in. I also think that people with ongoing psychotic disorders like schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder can have exceptional experiences. It's just a matter of when to best, you know, integrate those, when's appropriate to actually facilitate that counseling with that, or do they even need counseling? It just sort of depends, because obviously with those type of disorders, it's periodic for the most part. Sometimes it's a little bit more ongoing. It really just depends on the client. And then you had a second question. What was?
It's linked, basically.
Okay, cool. Anybody else?
So maybe a good handbook for counseling exceptional experiences.
Hmm?
Can you tell me?
A good book?
Yeah, like a handbook.
A handbook. I'm looking at your ear there's a handbook for clinicians on near-death experiences. And there's few, I mean, in different languages, and I only read Latin and English, so I'm not the... What's the one that just got published by that lady from the conference that we just went to in Germany? Eberhard, do you have any recommendations?
Yes, of course.
So I asked.
There is well, not a handbook, but at least a good overview about clinical approaches to paranormal experiences.
That's right, yeah, I should have thought about that.
Edited by Wim Kramer, myself, and the late colleague Gerd Höbelmann. And you will find also a chapter how to deal with exceptional experiences in the new handbook for parapsychology edited by Ezio Cardegna et al. So there exists a lot of literature. Well, it's not a handbook in the usual sense, but at least it gives you the major approaches when it comes to the exceptional experiences, also considering clinical issues, how to distinguish between psychotic breakthroughs, and also what is the typical approach mirrored against the psychotherapeutic things. So there's a lot of literature. It's the journal, you will find also literature about the, under the topic clinical parapsychology.
And the first book that he mentioned is freely available on the PA website.
It's the one Wim Kramer
Yes.
edited.
Yeah. So see me later. I can
It's a
help you
collection
find
of
it.
Yes, and there was also a historical edited by the Parapsychology Foundation already back in '69, I suppose. And here sits also, Lenore has also done his PhD thesis with the French dealing with clinical approaches.
So there's definitely literature, but I couldn't think of anything that would be like the handbook. And I mean, it's really difficult too, because it's like, what's the handbook of counseling in general? Because there's so many different orientations of counseling and clinical psychology. So even with this this area, it'd be very difficult to say this is how we do it, because we all do it differently. Also, there's a book by Christine Simmons Moore, Clinical Approaches to Exceptional Experiences, that is available as well on the PA website. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay.
Just wondering, typically, how long would you counsel these people? Is it just a matter of a few sessions, or would you need usually to follow them many months, or is there very typical?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely depends. So I've been sort of transplanted from the US to the UK, so like I work in different areas too, or different jobs. So I'm hoping to get accredited in the UK, and I'm hoping for more like long-term sessions. But it often depends on insurance, unfortunately. And I don't know if that's everywhere, but it's definitely in America. Like, you know, what does your insurance offer? But I would also work with people who didn't have insurance, and we would work on a sliding scale. So often I worked with people for free, and in that case, we kind of, you know, would go like see where things went. And it also depends on what they need. So maybe a one-time session is what they need. Maybe a few, maybe it's 6, or maybe, you know, it's 16. It really just depends. So I really try to get as many as needed, but the insurance costs also, I mean, the cost in general is something I have to consider, unfortunately. So.
Thank you, Erika, again. So.